Welcome Internet to Psychoanalytic Talk, and today we're going to be talking about the bipolar self, a concept developed by Heinz Kohut in his book The Restoration of the Self. But I would argue that it was already present in a way in his first book, The Analysis of the Self. Now, what exactly is the bipolar self? Well, I'm going to have to start by what it's not. And what it's not is a theory for bipolar disorder. Because you should know that when Kohut theorized his bipolar self, the appellation bipolar disorder was at that time called maniaco-depressive, meaning that it was not correlated with bipolar. Bipolar only became officially instated in 1980. So at the time of Kohut's writings, it wasn't the case. So I really wanted to decorrelate because both of those words are exactly the same, yet they don't have absolutely no correlation together. They don't like. There's no ramification that holds them together. So I really invite you to consider the bipolar self as something completely independent. Now, what is the bipolar self? Well, for Kohut, the bipolar self is basically a part of the mind that is very early. In the analysis of the self, so in this book, he explains that it goes even below the id, ego, superego Freudian constitution, meaning that this happens in the really early stages of life, because the infant is going to basically form a self, but this self is going to be constituted of two basic branches. So the first one we're going to go for and we're going to talk about is the grandiose self. The grandiose self being the moment where the child basically feels themselves all powerful, capable of doing everything, able to answer their own needs. In a way, it's a form of fantasy of the self, in which the self sees itself, sorry for the redundancy here, sees itself as all-powerful, almighty, capable of doing everything. In a way, then, in this phase, the narcissism of the child is completely elated, meaning that it's completely formidable, and nothing can go against it. In a way, it's as if the child believed themselves to be special, to be incredible, to go even beyond what other humans can do and believe. For example, believing in magical thinking, that they are somewhat special. And this is very, very important because this, even though it's blown out of proportion in the child, it's going to constitute the very important basis of narcissism. Not narcissism as narcissistic personality disorder, but is a baseline of their self-esteem. Because what Kohut explains is that the child has to believe in their efficacy. The child has to believe in their agency, in their ability to basically create a change. And this grandiosity is very, very important because it's there to demonstrate a form of agency and capacity. Even though it's completely detached from reality in the child's mind, it's still important for the child to be able to develop it, to be able to investigate it, and be able to almost play with it, and be able to slowly let go of the grandiosity. Because that's the whole very interesting point of Kohut's system, is that the bipolar self needs to be let go slowly but surely. And we will see that later in the video, but this is exactly what it is. Even if the child feels grandiose, feels that they can meet their own needs, feels that they can change the world, it's not the case, but that's okay because a child can grow out of it. Now, the second branch of this bipolar self is the Idealized Parental Imago, or Imagos. So this is where the child believes that their parents are special, formidable, incredible, and basically the child is going to feel that the parent can do no wrong. The parent is absolute and will therefore give them a form of absoluteness as well. That they just need to merge with the parent and everything will be fine. That things like death, suffering, the human condition, all of that can be alleviated by the parent and by the parent's love, care, affection. So therefore there's nothing to be afraid of or to worry, because the merger with the parent is going to help save them, because the parent is completely idealized, completely seen as basically capable of everything, and that they are almost seen as God parents. Now, Kohut never say God parents, but I feel that it's important to say it like that, because the child does see something that is incredible in the parent. And what you have to understand is that this is like a dialectic, because both coexist at the same time in the child's mind. And if he's disappointed in his grandiose self, if he's disappointed in his abilities, or he's in his capacity to basically do something, then he will report himself on the parent. His narcissism will shift to this grandiose or idealized parental imago. So basically the child's narcissism is going to go from one to the other. And equally, if he's disappointed in the parent's response, he's going to go back to a grandiose sense of self and think that he or she can solve the problem. That magical thinking, in this, for example, in this process, is very potent. That the child believes that by the act of thinking something, it creates a change in the external world. And if I were to analyze this in a Kohutian way, we can see here that it's the grandiose self at play, because the child believes itself to be capable of changing the world through thought, that they're exceptional enough to be able to do so. And if they're not, it's okay, because the parents, who are formidable, who are incredible, are going to be able to basically do it for the child. So basically all the child feels, and this is the grandiose self, completely capable of dealing with everything because of the magical thinking, because of their ability, or they're going to be able to delegate to the idealized parental imago later on, which is going to help them, and they just need to fuse wisdom. Now, this is important. For Kohut, this aspect isn't pathological in of itself. The child, it's normal for a child to basically be in a bipolar self. And what he explains is that the bipolar self slowly, in the best case scenario, transitions to the Freudian ego, superego, and id structures, meaning that the child slowly grows out of it. Basically, he goes from believing in all powerfulness and absoluteness to something more ambivalent and moderate. Okay? So basically, the child is going to slowly reach a form of reality acceptance in himself or in herself. Now, and this is going to be very important, this acceptance has to be slow, gradual, and has to be adapted to the child, meaning that the bipolar self should not be deconstructed in one go, one swiping event. It has to be very gradual, very slow. The child has to, for his own sense of inner security, believe in his ability to change the world, but also believe in the almighty good parent that they are seeing through the idealized parental imago. And through this process, the child can slowly internalize the failures, the mishaps, the mistakes, the problems involved both with themselves in their grandiose beliefs, but also in the parent, meaning that basically they come to accept a new level of reality. Now, as you might think about it, or even basically have guessed, it doesn't always happen. The child sometimes, in a way, and this is how I see it, Kohut never gives this image, but I see it almost like a plane, right? So the plane, if it lands, it's okay, everyone's safe, everything has gone according to plan. But the problem comes when the plane crashes, when the disillusionment is drastic. The plane comes and crashes. And you might think, yeah, well, where's the difference? Because in the two cases, we're ground level. Yes, but in one case, everyone's safe, and in the other, everything is destroyed. And basically, what Kohut explains is that if it's too drastic, if it's too in one go, the child has no other alternative than to cling onto the bipolar self-organization, meaning they will never reach the ego, superego, id structure as defined by Freud, meaning they stay blocked at a certain level of psychic development. This entails another form of problem. That means that if they are stuck in this, as adults, for children, it's normal to be in a bipolar self structure to a certain age. But for adults, this is going to create a lot of problems, because believing in as one being all-powerful, capable of changing things through magical thinking, opens up to a plethora of problems, both in reality testing, in basically relationships, and in the introspection, because the grandiose self does not allow for introspection, because the self is too vulnerable, too fragile, meaning that any question would come and hurt this grandiosity, which is unacceptable for someone who's too vulnerable, meaning that the person cannot question what is happening. And if ever they're disappointed, they might shift to an ideal parental imago. So for Kohut, and this is important to understand it doesn't necessarily mean the parent. For Kohut, it can mean anything from a group, a system, a society, a manager. Really, the spectrum is infinite. But the idea is that the person in the bipolar self is going to idealize someone else and see them as the ultimate savior, to use the Yalom's words, i.e., someone can save them from the human condition, from their inner suffering. And this is going to create form of almost worship of the other person. However, this worship is only true if the individual in the bipolar self can merge with the other. If it isn't the case, then basically there might be a lot of resentment, a lot of hatred, because the other one is seen as superior and someone is going to crush them, hurt them, and destroy them. Therefore, it then becomes an enemy that is feared. But before that, that person is idealized. And that idealization means that, in a way, the person is never equal to another, to the person that they admire, but also never equal to people that they see as lesser or not as good. Meaning that the relational aspect is hurt and damaged because of this fundamental gap between them and the parental imago and the ideas parental imago. Now, this is also a problem within group dynamics, because the person can invest the group ideology as perfect and as unflawed, which means that there's a complete identification to this, a complete merger, which means that the person becomes, in a way, can no longer criticize the values of the group or of the other person, meaning that that also leads to a lot of issues, a lot of problems. Now, you might be wondering, this is very interesting, but so what happens when the person grows out of it? Well, for Kohut, the growing out of it, when one is not a child, comes from psychotherapy. That the bipolar self and the person that stays in a bipolar self dynamic isn't, in a way, hasn't been able to grow out of it, hasn't been able to have the good relationships, the self-objects, i.e. the object, the relationship that would help the self go beyond that, which in turn means that fundamentally the psychotherapy is another chance at trying to reach the ego, superego, id structure that should have been there and should have been eased throughout development, but hasn't. But psychotherapy, through the fact of having a therapist that can create a good enough ambience, a form of understanding, a form of basically acceptance, means that the adult or the patient is going to be able to put his bipolar self and his grandiose ideal imago of the parent onto the therapist and even their grandiose self, and be able to slowly land and deconstruct what is happening and those internalized fantasies of grandiosity, and throughout psychotherapy. Now, and this is going to be very important, later on in the development of Kohut's thoughts, the bipolar self had replaced Freudian classic metapsychology. That means that for Kohut, the bipolar self became integral, not just of a type of population like narcissistic personality disorder and other forms of personality disorders, but became global, collective, i.e. every child has a bipolar self, and basically we as adults still experience it from time to time, even if we've grown beyond that, thanks to a good internalized self-object. Now, this is basically where You have to understand that this is a new psychological model, but in the analysis of the self, which is this book, it's still linked to Freud. And I think that that link is still very important and very valuable. And if we see the bipolar self as basically a stepping stone towards what would later become the classic Freudian structure of ego, superego, the Oedipus complex, that becomes very interesting. Also, you should note that this bipolar self theory replaces Klein's paranoid schizoid position and depressive position, as Kohut has his disagreements with those early phases. Because for him, what is important is the bipolar self and the need for the child to feel the grandiosity or be able to merge with someone that they see as grandiose, and slowly but surely let go of that internalization and be able to, well, how we would say in French is stemiser, meaning to lower the expectations. Now, basically, this is pretty much it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to add, anything you'd want me to make more clear, feel free to drop a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.